at the White House to the reaction to President Trump's public remarks at Monday's summit in Helsinki with Vladimir Putin. And over in Thailand, the 12 boys and their soccer coach speaking publicly for the first time since their daring rescue from that cave they were trapped in for 18 days. ABC News has just learned that one of the boys has been released from the hospital and reunited with his family just moments ago. But first, we will start you off with your headlines for today, Wednesday, July 18th.
Special counsel Robert Mueller is now asking for immunity for 5 potential witnesses in the upcoming trial for former Trump campaign head Paul Manafort.
A 29-year-old Russian gun rights activist has been indicted in federal court on charges she acted as an agent of a foreign government. Officials say Maria Butina entered the U.S. in 2016 on an F-1 student visa and is due back in court on Wednesday.
The Secret Service has now confirmed that an agent traveling with the president died while they were in Scotland. Google is now promising to appeal a $5 billion antitrust fine from European officials over Android.
New warnings about what new tariffs could do to the price of cars, with the Trump administration considering a 25% tariff on cars built outside the U.S. The Alliance of Automobile Manufacturers now says that would raise the average price of an import by nearly $6,000.
Walmart is reportedly ready to go after Netflix. TheInformation.com says the company is considering launching its own streaming service. The price could be around $8 a month. The Girl Scouts are pushing further into the digital age. One of the newest badges being introduced is one for cybersecurity. Scout officials say the goal is to prepare girls for a modern world of digital opportunities and digital threats.
At Nationals Park in D.C. last night, baseball's All-Star game. The American League coming out on top against the National League, 8-6 with a record 10 home runs.
Our top story comes out of Washington today. It's been 2 days now since President Trump's summit in Helsinki with Russian President Vladimir Putin, and the White House is still feeling the reverberations from President Trump's comments at the press conference after his one-on-one meeting with Vladimir Putin. We have Karen Travers at the White House on the North Lawn to walk us through everything as President Trump has started to walk back his controversial comments. And Karen, it is good to see you, and I will start there. What is the latest with this so-called walk back of his comments that began yesterday?
Well, Will, there's sort of a walk back of the walk back, if you will. The president was up very early this morning and on Twitter still talking about that press conference on Monday and his comments yesterday. The president wrote this on Twitter this morning. He said, "So many people at the higher ends of intelligence loved my press conference performance in Helsinki." He doesn't say, Will, who he's referring to, but the only time we have heard the president, his press conference addressed by anybody in the intelligence community, it was the director of national intelligence, Dan Coats, on Monday, who issued a statement after that press conference. Coats said that the intelligence agencies stand by their assessment of Russia's election meddling in 2016 and what he called their ongoing persuasive efforts to undermine our democracy. So that's a really critical point there from the director of national intelligence. Dan Coats says this is not just in the past. It's not just 2016. It is ongoing, and it's going to happen in the future. President Trump got a lot of criticism on Monday in the wake of that press conference for what he said about 2016. And that's why we saw him come out yesterday and say that he slipped up. It was the wrong word. He said he does agree with the intelligence agencies that Russia was behind this. But Will, in the same breath, as he's trying to clear that up, he muddies the waters a little bit more by saying he accepts that conclusion, but it could also be others. So we're kind of back to where we've been over the past couple of months, where the president will say, yes, I take that, and I take that from the intelligence communities, but maybe there's more there. The intelligence communities have not said that. That is not their conclusion.
We hadn't heard from anyone at the White House for over 24 hours after the summit, and then Trump had his walk back yesterday, and now he is scheduled to appear publicly again. Just minutes from now, really, at 11:30, he's scheduled to have a cabinet meeting, which will be open to the press. What are we supposed to expect from this cabinet meeting?
Well, usually these cabinet meetings are a chance for the president to go around the room. Sometimes they're quite long as photo ops go. And he talks to each cabinet secretary and gets a readout of what their agency or department is doing. I think we'll see him do that again today, but I would not be surprised if the president uses this opportunity as more of a full-throated defense of what he said on Monday and what he said again on Tuesday, because certainly his comments yesterday have not really squashed all of the criticism he's been receiving. I think the important question for the president that he still has not answered, and this came up on Monday in the press conference and he didn't get it, is what does he want to see the administration, what does he want the federal government to do to stop future cyber attacks and to prevent this from happening again? We know the president's thoughts on 2016. He knows that Putin's never going to admit to this. The president says he believes the intelligence agencies, kind of. But what about what they're doing now? Because that warning that Dan Coates has put out over the last couple of days, that Russia is doing this right now, Russia wants to do this again in the future. We didn't see the president on Monday standing next to the Russian president turn to him and say, stop this, don't do this again, this will not be tolerated, there will be extreme consequences. He had that chance, and he didn't take it. So maybe if he gets asked about that again in the coming days, he will revisit that issue.
Just briefly as an aside, was this cabinet meeting scheduled, or is this a reactionary assembly of Trump's cabinet?
It was on the schedule that we got a couple days ago. I can't remember if it was in complete response to what we saw in Helsinki on Monday, but the president does this pretty regularly, so it certainly would be not unusual for him to get his cabinet secretaries together, especially after a big trip like last one, because, he wants to talk about trade issues, he wants to talk about national security issues, other economic issues. It's a good chance to get everybody in the room and brief them on what he found was noteworthy on the trip, and go over some of the things I think that they also found important and interesting too.
Moving down the street from the White House to the Capitol building, how would you characterize what the congressional response has been to Trump's summit and his remarks there? And what should we expect going forward from members of both sides of on the aisle?
Yeah, I think the reaction was what you'd expect from the usual suspects. Of course, Democrats jumped on this, that it was the worst performance they had seen from a president, especially standing next to a Russian leader. And the president really took a lot of heat from Republicans, too. Not just the John McCains or the Jeff Flakes, the Bob Corkers who usually do it. You had Mitch McConnell say that Russia is an adversary, not a friend, and they wanted to see the president make, I think, a much tougher stance on that.
Karen Travers, thank you so much. Always locked in on the goings-on in our nation's capital. We move now across the world to Thailand, where the 12 boys and their soccer coach, trapped for 18 days in a Thai cave, are speaking publicly for the first time at a press conference today. We've just learned that one boy has been released and returned to his family, which is great news. Our James Longman has been in Thailand covering this story from the jump, and he has the latest.
Hi, Will. Yeah, we've just come out of the most extraordinary press conference, seeing the Wild Boar team, those 12 boys and their soccer coach, well and happy for the first time speaking to the public since this whole ordeal began. They came in to cheers from the journalists who were assembled, but also their parents, some of their friends who were also there, and officials, doctors and nurses who have been looking after them all this time. And they played a little game of soccer beforehand, just in front of where we were all assembled. They had a little pitch with a couple of goals, and they did that, I think, just some fun, but also to show that they are in good health. And doctors say that's exactly the case. There are no more fevers, there's no more risk of infection. And so a day earlier than planned, the boys are now on their way home. And it was fascinating to hear from some of those boys. And one of them, Adon, 14 years old, who spoke the most English, recalled how when he was sat on the muddy bank all those days in, the moment he saw the diver, the British diver, bubble up in that water and find them in that cave. He said initially the boys were a little bit scared and they didn't know what to make of it. They heard this sound in the cave. He took a flashlight from another boy and went down. He saw the diver. He kept saying hello to him. And after a while, actually, he asked the diver if he was okay. He was so shocked. Meanwhile, the coach who was inside, obviously, he was asking what was going on because he doesn't speak any English. And it was rather a funny moment when he described sort of shouting, someone translate, and none of the boys could because they were all so shocked to see the diver. The coach also described how once they realized they were stuck, he thought the best way to get them out would be to lay a little rope, so that's what he did. And he said he'd go ahead with this rope, swim under some of the rocks and pull at it once if the way was clear for the boys to follow, and pull at it twice if they were stuck. And that is indeed, of course, what happened. So they described waiting inside the cave, day in, day out, writing on the side of the cave wall just to pass the time, but also perhaps even to map out a route to get themselves out of this cave network. Today really was an amazing day. Thailand is jubilant to see these boys fresh and happy and healthy. And now, after all those days inside the cave and in the hospital, they're finally reunited with their families. Will?
Great stuff, James. Thank you in Thailand. Back now to the United States, where in California, summer fire season is in full swing, and there is a huge one raging around Yosemite National Park, and that is where we find our Clayton Sandell, who has the latest for us. Clayton, good morning. I start with this. Where do we stand on this fire that began Friday?
Yeah, hey, well, the numbers, we just got out of the morning briefing here, and right now this fire has burned around 17,000 acres. It's only 5% contained, but they are making some good progress. You caught us at a good time here because this is actually shift change here at the fire camp where all of these firefighters are coming in. You know, when you have a huge fire like this, we're used to seeing pictures of the firefighters on the fire lines and the flames and all of that, but you got to have a place to feed them. They have to come back, supply up, get gas, have a place to sleep. So this is where that is done. This is actually a regional park here in California that is just a few miles outside of Yosemite. But what they have done here, this is almost like a city that has cropped up in just the last 36 hours. None of this was here on Monday afternoon, but what they have done here, you can see some of these big trucks here. They brought in mobile catering. They have to feed 1,800 fire personnel that are here right now. Back over here behind me, you can see they've brought in these big semi-trailers that are mobile sleepers where firefighters can sleep, although there is a wide range of accommodations here at the fire camp. You either have the nice mobile sleeper, you can also, a lot of people sleep in their trucks here, and then way down there, there's an open field with a bunch of tents where a lot of firefighters hang out. So, as I said, there's 1,800 of them here. They've been fighting this fire since Friday. All of these trucks are coming in from around the state. There's one from Ontario, California, Burbank, Paradise, so Southern California, Northern California, all over they have come to fight this fire. One of the big problems that they have run into here is that they've got an inversion layer in the weather. So colder air is sticking toward the ground, warmer air above. And what that means is the smoke is getting trapped close to the ground and it's obscuring the view of the fire. So if you can't see the fire, it's very hard to fight it, especially from the air. You don't want to put aircraft into an area that where they're flying low and they can't see because they've got all the terrain, all these mountains around the area. So what they've had to do is basically make this mostly a ground fight. The boots on the ground are the ones who are going in and cutting fire line in the ground, trying to stop this fire. And it is very hard, backbreaking work. We were out with a crew yesterday that was out chainsawing brush away from the road, just trying to create a fire break. And the terrain that they're dealing with, they were on a slope that was better than 45 degrees angle. So it's very steep, it's very hot, loose rocks. They have had 2 injuries here reported overnight. One firefighter, we're told, broke a leg. The other one had heat exhaustion. And of course, this is a fire that's very personal to a lot of firefighters here because there was a firefighter who was killed in a bulldozer accident on Saturday. So the weather has been hot, but they are hoping that they'll get a change with some monsoonal weather coming in, maybe some thunderstorms that'll drop a little rain, but those thunderstorms will bring lightning. So that's one thing that they're watching out for. But one last bit of good news, they have been able to prevent any houses, any structures. There's been 0 loss, so they're hoping to keep that number at 0. Will?
Clayton, you are in an area that we rarely get to see, the fire camp. It looks like a huge, complex production. Thank you for showing us around, giving us a sense of the challenges that these firefighters face before they even go into what you could say battle, fighting these fires. From the firefighters that you have spent time with and embedded with and spoken to here in California, what are they saying in terms of their confidence level as they fight this fire? Where do we stand there?
You know, it's all contingent on the weather. And the last few days we've seen temperatures 100 degrees. But what's been good is that the winds have not been very strong. We've only had winds in the 5 to 15 mile an hour range, some gusts up to 20. So that's good. The weather has been good. When at night it's been cooler, so the fire has been laying down, and that is when they've been able to make a lot of progress on this fire when it's not spreading as quickly. And so they tell us that they made a lot of progress overnight, and that 5% containment number that I mentioned earlier has not changed in the last couple of days. But what we're sort of told as guidance is that the fire commanders here want to be very conservative with that number. They want to make sure that the lines that they have put in place can be held and are not going to be overrun by fire. So they have made good progress. They expect that containment number to go up, but that's kind of where it stands right now. And they are kind of looking forward to this change in the weather that hopefully will bring some more moisture, some more humidity to the air, and hopefully try and start to get this thing under control.
Before we let you go, what should we expect for this fire as it develops and fire season generally out west, according to officials?
Well, of course, one of the big concerns here is that this fire is burning just outside of Yosemite National Park, and it has closed one of the main roads getting into Yosemite at the height of the busy tourist season here. And if you look at some of the pictures, those famous views that Yosemite is known for of Half Dome and El Capitan, they're just completely obscured by smoke. So they are hoping that that finally clears out, that they can, restore sort of the park to the way people want it and to reopen that road. But that's kind of the expectation here in the next couple of days.
Clayton, thanks so much. Clayton Sandell with a very unique inside look at the fire camp preparations as firefighters head into Yosemite National Park to fight that fire that is only 5% contained right now. We'll keep you updated on that. Switching gears a little bit, you got to keep your head on a swivel when you're at the beach, not just for seagulls trying to eat your food or sharks trying to eat you, but apparently also for flying umbrellas. Our Gio Benitez is in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, with a story of a scary injury and an unexpected danger.
Hey there, Will. This is just something we don't think about, right? We're talking about 1,000 people ending up in the ER every year because of flyaway umbrellas, okay? And we started thinking about this because this 67-year-old woman, she ended up with an umbrella hitting her. It went through the ankle. This just happened on Monday over in Seaside Heights. And she's okay. She's recovering in the hospital right now. But she told us, listen, it was a beautiful day. It was just this freak gust of wind that came through and that umbrella went flying. But we're looking at other videos right now, and take a look at this video because this is a volleyball tournament and these umbrellas just started flying, almost attacking these people. We saw another video where all of these umbrellas started moving around like tumbleweed on this beach. Just incredible images, and you realize how often this happens. So we're going to talk about some beach umbrella safety right now. We got Ryan over here. Ryan's actually studying to be an aerospace engineer, so that's why he's wearing the NASA. But you don't have to be an engineer, right? You don't have to be an engineer to do this. He's going to show us how to properly do this, do it safely. You want to install it by going front to back. That's how you want to drive it down. Go at least 16 inches, preferably 2 feet down, but you want to drive it like that. You don't want to go in a circular motion. He's going to do that circular motion right now, and you can see right there what happens is that the sand around it just starts collapsing, and you really have no support. All right, Ryan, thank you so much. We're going to talk to Bill now, though, because we found this product, and it's pretty cool. You can see it right here. It's called the Beach Bub Build-A-Base. Hey there, Bill.
Nice to have you here.
So tell us about this, because here we've got this, and when I saw this, I said, well, what can this do?
Yeah.
It turns out a lot.
It does. So what we tried to do, I came up with this concept after seeing a bad beach accident 9 years ago, and I thought about how a patio umbrella works. Patio umbrella has a base, and it's heavy, and it's attached to the bottom of the pole. So I said, if I could only do this and make it portable, here it is. This is portable. Yeah. And when that's filled, well, that's 125 pounds of sand in there.
I mean, you can't pick this up.
No.
You can't pick this. I go to the gym, but I can't pick this up.
No, and you only have to insert the pole that far in. We give you a little tool to help you get it that far in. So we take all that stress and all that extra effort to try to drive this thing real deep. It's just that far into the hole. You set your pole in there, you lift two of the wings, and you get the kids to fill it up, and there you're set. And this is going to help prevent it from tipping over, but more importantly, it's not going to lift up and go tumbling down the beach. That's the most important thing.
And this is actually endorsed by the American Lifeguard Association, right?
Yes.
And it's been tested for winds up to 35 miles per hour?
35 miles an hour.
Okay,
yes.
so let's show, because what you want to do is you've got this here, and this is the tool that comes with your kit, right?
It does, yes.
And you just sort of drive it in like that, and you start removing sand.
And that creates the hole.
And it's just a clean hole, very cool. And so then you basically get your kids or yourself and you just start filling it up with sand.
So you take the pole and you insert the pole in, you lift 2 of the wings to form that first pouch, and then they start lifting it and putting the sand in. You lift the last one, and there's the finished product. It takes about 2 minutes to set this up, but your day's set for the day. Now you don't have to worry about that thing uplifting and rolling down the beach and having to chase your umbrella, hurting somebody.
And what does this all cost?
$140.
$140, but you can start with just this, right?
You can start with just this. We have a starter kit with a cowl. You can install it on any beach umbrella that you've got, and it shows you the concept, and then you can move into the whole system, and we don't penalize you. If you actually want to move into the whole system, we go ahead and we credit you for your first amount that you paid, and then we go ahead and we build it into the whole system for you.
Look at you having ethics and stuff. Thank you so much. Thank you.
bet.
Really just a brilliant and a very cool idea. So if you want to spend a little more, you can do it. Be extra safe. Bill, thank you so much. Ryan, thank you so much. And Will, back to you.
Thanks, Gio. Down the Jersey Shore, looking a lot like Hawaii, which is where we head for our next story. Some tourists were on a boat taking pictures of a volcano where they were hit with a lava bomb. For more on what that is and what exactly happened, here's Will Carr.
Good morning, Will. We've snaked our way in here close to this active lava flow. In the distance, you can see that hellish orange glow. That is a river of lava. Rapids flowing over what used to be a community. You can see this lava rock now blocking the road. Several hundred homes used to be down this road. They're all gone. Since the beginning of May, we've seen molten rock just like this raining down. Keep in mind that we had those lava bombs go off earlier this week. This lava rock fits in my hand. We're talking about lava rock the size of basketballs that actually hit that tour boat, injuring 23 people, one woman even fracturing her femur. You can see, talking about this community, these power lines going down and then cut off here. There's power cut off for a large amount of this area right now. I am joined by Captain Taylor here with the National Guard. They've been nice enough to actually bring us into this area. Captain Taylor, thanks for joining us. Tell me right now what your biggest concerns are for this area.
There are many concerns, but one concern we want to point out is the shift in wind. The SO2 can be shifted from the mandatory evacuation area to the temporary evacuation area. Now, we want to ensure that if you are in this area, you're wearing the proper equipment, such as a respirating system that you have and a hard hat.
Perfect. And when we say SO2, we're talking about the sulfur dioxide in the area. So again, that's why we're wearing this respirator, we're wearing these hard hats, because we saw earlier this week with those lava bombs just how dangerous this can be with those lava rocks raining down from the air. And at this point, Will, with that lava still flowing in the background, there's no end in sight. Will.
Thanks, Will. And finally, tonight at 8 p.m. on ABC, it's the 26th Annual ESPY Awards out in Los Angeles. And to get us set up for that, we welcome in ESPN's Carrie Champion. Carrie, you are on the red carpet looking fantastic. It is great to see you. So excited for the night tonight. Wish I could be there. You know who will be there is Danica Patrick, the first female host. What should we expect from her?
Oh, you know what? That's great. You know, I'll say this. Danica Patrick is a star in her own right. And I know I've talked to her before, and she said, I don't want to necessarily be known as just the first female host. I want to be known as the greatest host that the ESPYs have seen. And that's a great honor in itself. You know what the ESPYs is about, Will. It's one of these events where we come together, their peers look at each other and say, you've been great all year long, but it's the Oscars, if you will. It's an opportunity to honor those who sometimes don't get acknowledged. But it's not just about, Will, you know this, the on the court, it's the off the court event. It's the red carpet, which I am on. Take a look right behind me. As you can see, it's the calm before the storm, as some would like. Follow me. You'll see we have all kind of tents set up here, and it's usually royalty waiting to come in. Stars such as, you name him. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers be here. He'll come here, he'll talk, he'll walk the carpet. We'll see what he's wearing. We always have to ask that question, what are you wearing? But then there are the other storylines outside of what are you wearing? Who's being honored tonight? Who will win the big awards, if you will? One of the many storylines, we've talked about it all year long, was the Arthur Ashe Courage Award being given to Allie Raisman and some other young ladies for their courage during the year. We all know about that story. And then there is the Stuart Scott Award because he was one of our dear colleagues, and we will honor him with a scholarship, and we'll announce that during the ceremony. And then when it's all said and done, there's a party. Everyone gets to hang out. They get to laugh, they get to shout, they get to scream. They get to do the things that they want to do during the season, but they can't because they're so disciplined. So this is this event where you let your hair down, if you will, and hang out and have a good time.
Carrie, I am so jealous of you out in L.A. on the red carpet at the ESPYs.
You should be.
I always am. We're all jealous of you all the time. Carrie Champion, a great friend and a great representative of ESPN. Tonight, the ESPY Awards celebrating all that is great in the year of sports. You catch that at 8 p.m. on ABC. And that's going to do it for us here at ABC News Live. We are with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and on the app, as always. So get that downloaded so we can be with you all the time, getting you what you need to know when you need to know it. That'll do it for us. Take care.